we'll do something else another time and learn our lesson. You know, the key for, like I told them, the key for coaching, guys, all this stuff we tell you, Coach Simpson won a bunch of games. He can tell you, you mess a lot of stuff up. Even every people that win games mess a lot of stuff up. Learn from your mistake and move on. I should have made a private room. I should have sent the link out that way, and I didn't. So I'm going to own up to it and do better next time.
And I'm having I can hear okay. I may move rooms here to make sure my internet's going to be a little better. I'm hoping y'all can hear me. Has everybody got me?
We hear you good, Coach. Or I hear you good. I don't know if I assume everybody else does. I hear you good. Yeah.
I'm usually, I can see the chat pretty good. It's just my audio is not so good.
Yeah.
I hear you.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
We can stay slow on move, so.
Okay. We're going to start whenever you're ready, Coach. You just let me know.
Okay. Oh, hopefully this will work. All right, Coach. So this is your deal. You want to kind of roll us into it?
Yeah, I'll kind of kick it off here a little bit. Like to talk a little bit about situational football, offense, defense, special teams, and take whatever question you guys have too at the end. If you want to send something to the chat, we can answer that. I'm going to talk a lot probably about special teams or unique situations that come up, and Coach is going to talk about preparing coaches and preparing players for things you see. Really offense, defense, and special teams, because what we're trying to do is I think there's two things that I've gotten in trying to study this the last week or two. One is we're not really telling you what to do. That would be for another topic. So if you like to run a certain offense or a certain defense or a certain type of punt or whatever, we'll gladly talk about that. I'm sure Coach will. We got plenty of videos out there, stuff on what we like to do. But you run whatever you run, but the situations don't discriminate. So you're going to find yourself backed up and having to punt. You're going to find yourself punting in the end zone, or you're going to find yourself kicking after a safety or having to take a safety, or even just the regular kind of offensive situations or defense where it's medium yardage, short yardage, right hash, left hash. You're going to find yourself in those situations. So doesn't matter what offense you run. And then the last thing that I had that I've learned, and I actually saw in one of Coach's slides, is if you assume these kids know this stuff, you're out of your mind. So if you think because they understand that they've got to do this or this for punt return, you have lost your mind. They do not understand. So do not take situations for granted and not practice them. Because, those of you that know a little bit about me, I'm not coaching right now. I'm at central office. I've been a district athletic director. When I was coaching, I didn't get to see a lot of people. Now that I'm not coaching, I actually get to see more practices, and I get to see more different teams and talk to people. And one of the things I see that is a big issue is people practicing two things. On offense and defense, every play's in the middle of the field, 1st and 10, which is a problem, and I saw that on Coach's slide too. And every play on special teams, they want to work 10 minutes of punt team, and it's just 10 minutes of punt team, just regular punt. If you're going to do that, probably 6 or 7 of those minutes do need to be your regular punt scheme, but you're going to need to move around the field, put it on the hashes, put it backed up, punt in the end zone, punt with the lead in the 4th quarter, whatever the scenario is. And so what I'm trying to do today is just get as many situations kind of talked about and then answer any questions you guys have. Coach, you want to share your screen a little bit and talk a little bit about some of the situation stuff you had?
Sure. Yeah, sure. I'm hoping everybody can hear me. I'm fine. I moved, so now
I'm good.
Ghost, but at least I can hear everybody. So I'll share my screen and get my ugly face off it. But I'm not going to go through a whole presentation here, Coach. I think you were wanting this to be more of Q&A, but I'll give you just some ideas. Guys, when I hear about situational football, some of the things that I think about, and then we can kind of go wherever Coach Parker really wants to go. But, for me, he mentioned it already, football's not played in the middle of the field. I mean, it's not played there. And situations, I think, like Coach mentioned, it's nobody, who cares if you're in the wing tee, the spread, the 3-4, the whatever, okay, situations are the same. So you got to kind of prepare for what's going to happen. And he mentioned it also. I'm dealing with this generation of athletes. Some of them might play Madden. Most of them play Fortnite, and they do
They don't know.
So they don't know. And so you can get mad as a coach. I used to get mad all the time as a coach and still do, but really it's my job to coach them up. And here's the new thing. a lot of times my assistant coaches, these are guys that played college football coming to me, they still don't know the situations of the game the way I want them to know them. And so we've won a lot of games because I think we've coached our kids up to understand when to be aggressive. You know, like when is it okay to roll the dice and when is it not okay to roll the dice. My first year as a DC, I'm 25 years old, and we're about to beat number 3 in the state of Alabama. It was Escambia County, I think was who it was, and we're 10-7, 4th and 20, and they throw a ball up for the air, and my safety and corner run into each other trying to pick it. Ball pops up, they picks it, they catch it, touchdown, we lose the game. I hadn't coached that up, you know, and so there's things that if you don't coach those things up, it kills you. And so what I'm going to try to focus, I'm going to let Coach talk about if he wants to do OD, especially whatever he wants to go with. I'm going to talk about like how you practice it, like how do you fit this in your practice schedule, and I'm going to talk about how do you coach your coaches up, and then what are the specific situations we're looking for. If we could do this, could be a whole 9-hour course.
Right.
Try to really focus on like, here's what we do in our practice. Here's what we do on Sunday night. Here's what we do with our kids. Here's, you know, because I kind of look at it as I need to take all the information in. I need to know all of it. And then my coaches need to know a lot, but less. And then my position coaches need to know a little bit less. And then what's the bare minimum my players need to know so they can play fast. So that's kind of what I'm going to work with. And I'll just play off whatever coach wants to go with. And I'm going to stop my screen share here. I'll pull up and show you guys whatever. You know,
I got a list too. We can go over, Coach. I think, you know, but guys, we don't want to insult your intelligence. You obviously carry your own here, but don't run every play in the middle of the field on 7-on-7s at these summer camps and practice. I can't tell you how many people I see doing that. And, you know, script the plays from the hashes. Just start there. We're going to get into way more detail than that. And if you're already doing that, I'm sorry I insulted your intelligence. But I just see so many people doing that. What I'm going to do, I'm going to share my screen real quick, Coach. And for us, let's talk about down and distance real quick, Coach, offense, defense. This could be offense or defensive perspective, honestly. What did you guys think? What do you think is the hardest one of these things to prepare for? Because I don't even know if it's the long yardage ones, honestly. What's the hardest thing you thought you'd get a real good look at and prepare for? And how many plays did y'all keep from each hash, you know, when you were in these situations?
And I'm going to try to use the chat mostly, Coach, so I'm not just taking over your thing here, but we're shotgun wing T, and so we've got enough spread that we're kind of comfortable in this stuff. But when I was spread, we really struggled on short yardage. And then now that we're more of a run-heavy team, we usually struggle more on 3rd and long. So I think that probably is going to adjust on what they do. Like, we're very comfortable 4th and 3, that's fine. You know, but when I was in spread, I'd rather have been 3rd and 12 than 3rd and 2. You know,
right?
Different. But
I think from a play caller standpoint, the medium yardage was a little harder for me to call because I didn't feel like you could during the week you might have been wrong, if that makes sense. You know, we carried about 2 plays per hash in extra large. You know, if we're in 12, 13, 14 to go, you're going to either, you know, go for it or throw some kind of screen or draw. We'd have one on each hash. And then short yardage, we kind of were like that. But in the medium yardage, we may have really liked a certain play and then get in the game and you just really like something different. And that became a challenge to call those. We always went for it a lot on 4th down. Sounds like y'all did too. But so I always treated a lot of 3rd downs like 2nd down, to be honest, and tried to get us in a better situation to go for it on 4th down and some stuff like that. Does anybody have a specific question in the red zone? I mean, I'm sorry, I didn't say red zone. I looked at the next thing. For downs and distance, I'm sorry. Anybody got a question down distance for Coach or for me?
I was going to say too, Coach, one of the things, you know, we're uber aggressive on 4th down. That's your question.
I agree.
You need to understand, like, if you know you're going to go for it, your play call does need to change. You know,
right.
8 for us, we may run buck sweep because if I can get it to 4th and 3, I know I'm going for it.
Well, one of the situations I thought benefited us when you flip to the other side of the ball, we played some teams over the years that it'd be on like the 25-yard line with no kicker, and it's 3rd and 10, and they try to throw like a 10-yard out or some kind of Y cross or something and we bat it down, or we, you know, it's incomplete. It goes to 4th and 10, and they really try to run the same play because that's all they had. You know, so they would actually, if they knew they were going to go for it, because they didn't have a kicker, they were on the 25. Why wouldn't they have just ran a regular play on 3rd down, just whatever buck sweep or whatever their regular play is, and then run that play they liked on 4th and 8 or 4th and 6 or whatever they would have had, and instead of having to run back-to-back plays. We've gotten a ton of people off the field over the years by them basically having to call the same play twice because they didn't treat 3rd down like 2nd down there when they knew they were going for it. Coach, one of the coaches asked Coach Simpson, what spot on the field would you decide to go for it on 4th down? I always thought once we crossed midfield, we were damn sure thinking about it, you know.
I adjust mine on how good is my punter. Can I stop them? You know, so my defensive coordinator having that conversation ahead of time. So we're like, hey, can you stop them? There's times he's over there telling me to go for it because he knows he can't stop them.
That's right.
Or there's times that we're stopping them real good. And he's saying, what the crap, punt the ball. You know, and so it's going to depend. That's why a lot of this stuff you got to handle on Sunday night because in the heat of it, that ain't the time to handle it.
Well, the more you think about this stuff, and that's why I think this is a useful topic, and it could be a 9-hour course, because the more you think about this stuff now and the more you think about it in the meetings on the weekend, the better chance you got. You're not going to be able to walk out there and tell a kid how to do certain situations for the first time during the game, and you're just not. And even I didn't even think about the planning part of that, but you're right. That goes to that. We played Cedartown High School here at Nick Chubb a few years ago, and we beat them 54-40 something. I don't know. But we didn't punt all night. I mean, we didn't punt on the -30. If we gave him the ball back, he was going to score. He was that good, as y'all could imagine. And it was one of them deals where we knew we just couldn't punt. We couldn't stop him. And it did work out that we converted a ton of 4th downs and won the game. But we could have also gotten blown out, you know, if those plays hadn't worked. But, anybody else got a down distance question? We can go on to the field zone. What about defense, Coach, from a defense perspective? Did you feel like did anything stand out on down distance?
Yeah, we do cheat sticks. I mean, you just mentioned it. Everyone's going to run the route at the sticks.
Mm-hmm.
Run a shot over your head, but how many guys are running that on 3rd and 7?
They're not
running the curl, and so that's how we do 7-on-7. Because I hate 7-on-7.
Mm-hmm.
We tell our linebackers, hey, we're pretending every down is 3rd and 8, 3rd and 6, whatever it is, so that you are going to cheat back. I mean, if they run a draw, you can rally and tackle them short. And so we will do this a lot of times, and I'll get into it in practice stuff, but every time we have practice, we're going to hit these situations like you mentioned, because if you're not grilling it in the kid's head, I've had times I didn't even know it was 4th down. Like a quarterback took a sack once on 4th down. I was like, what are you doing? You know,
absolutely.
And so,
They don't know.
You're grilling it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Head coach asked, how do you script it throughout the week or on different days, et cetera? Like, how do you guys get? Yeah, pull your thing, pull it up. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay, we'll hop out real quick. I'll pull mine up. I'll show you just a basic practice schedule. We do offense and defense like Coach mentioned, because you got to do both. I won't do a ton on special teams. I'll let him kind of do that. Let me see if I can get this to pull up. You know, see that? Okay. All right, so I'm going to skip this kind of stuff, game situations, offensive situations. I'll let Coach he's doing a good job hitting all that. Special team, here we go. So here's how we do it in practice, okay? And I'm going to put this chat down so I can see. So there's a couple ways. One, we do our practices, I'm sure you all are probably similar. We have individual time, and then we have group time, and then we have team time. So that's kind of the way we structure everything. So if we're working buck sweep, we're working the individual drills that go with it, then we're working the group period, then we're bringing it all together for team. So I'm sure most people, that's how practice usually is run, okay? So when we're working individual time, okay, we're going to work in with those coaches, hey, work these situations we struggle with, offense or defense. So I put just 2 examples on there. So let's talk about open field tackles with the DBs and outside backers. You know, when you're doing your tackling drills, today we're talking about open field tackles. Well, tomorrow we may talk about, okay, the guy's wrapped up. That's our chance for a turnover. So you're starting to teach situations to your kids of now is not the time to rip at the ball. Now is the time. So you can get that in your individual time. Same thing on blocks. You may, like our O-line, we work them on upfield teams versus over the top teams. And so we'll work, that's a 2 different thing. It's the same drill, but it's a situation they may see. Or a quarterback may, hey, we're going to work on throwing whatever route it is. We're going to treat these like 4th down. So I don't care about picks or whatever happens on whatever. Now these are first downs. If it's not there, what should I do? Throw it away or run it. And so you're working that in your individual time with your individual coach. Then we come to group. We're going to move the ball around. Coach mentioned it. We're going to work from hashes in group. We're going to work in the red zone going in group. We're going to work backed up in group. So we may be doing 7-on-7. Don't do it from the 40 going out every time. Work 7-on-7 from the 10-yard line going in.
Mm-hmm.
Work your inside drill, you're coming out from your 1, or work inside drill where you're on the 1. And so you're working your group time there. And then for us, if we're running team, now other than Monday, now I've got the days we do here in a minute. Other than Monday, every snap is a situation. It's first down, it's second short, it's third and this, everything's a situation. So anytime we're in team, because I feel like we're getting our fundamental stuff in individual and group, and we get into team, it should be all situations. Everything should be a situation. And so the way we'll do our days, okay, is you just kind of make sure you hit these and divide it out into days. So like for us, Monday's an install day. So Monday, we're going to hit base plays. Okay, we're going to hit major adjustments, offense and defense. Base plays also works for your defense. So you're working their base. What is their number 1 through whatever you pick? We do top 5 formations, top 5, whatever it is. Okay, that's Monday. All right, then we're going to work our third down and fourth down in shorts and their third down and fourth down in shorts on Monday. Okay, and any installs you have, any new whatevers you've got. Hey, we're going to work this coverage. I don't like putting new stuff in. I think it should already be in your system, but you may be refreshing.
Mm-hmm.
And then Tuesday for us is hashes. We're going to work hashes because we're probably still working a lot of base stuff. We're going to work our red zone and their red zone. Then we're going to work longs. So we'll tell our guys 3rd and longs or 4th and longs because Coach mentioned it. If I know I'm going for it, 3rd and long might be different. So these are 3rd and longs, but I'll look at the quarterback and say, hey, treat it like 4th and long, And then we're going to work 2-minute drill on both sides of the ball. Wednesday, we're working all short yardage type stuff. So short yardage, 4-minute drill, we're trying to run the clock out, or on defense, they're trying to run the clock out so the DC's dialing up all his blitzes. He's bringing a house. So we got to get the ball, We're going to work any gimmicks. We probably have touched on those Monday, but we're going to work them in team on Wednesday. And any specials, what if they do this? We're going to hit that on Wednesday. And same thing for us. Wednesday, we may have, all right, they're a 4-front, but for 5 minutes, go to a 3-front on defense. That's a special to us. Then Thursday is what everyone's play the game is, and that's when you're going through the last play of the game, the last play of the half. I'm not going to get into all my special teams, Coach, because I already feel like I'm taking too much time, but it's there, guys, if you want to take a screenshot of it or take a picture. We're working the same thing with our special team. They each have a day, and they each have something we're working on that day, not just line up on air and punt it, okay?
Right.
And then I put down there, we also work a specialty period every day, and inside of that, we're coaching up situations. Like if they don't kick it deep, well, we're going to be working on squib kicks with our return guys. If their punter is going to an angle kicker, we're going to be working on that with our return. So we may take our punt returners on Monday and say, hey, these are inside the 10, don't field this. Or, so you just got to work all those type things. The coach is going to probably hit a lot of those. But the main thing for me as a coach is you got to build it where it's set, like a set schedule in your practice. Because if you don't practice it and it happens in a game, you can only blame yourself.
That's right. And here's the deal, guys, before we go even any further, you can practice the stuff and still mess it up in the game. But I believe it's your responsibility as a coach, and I always felt like it was mine to give the kids that opportunity. And I'm just like Coach. I've lost a couple games where I know we didn't work something we could have been working, and I felt really bad about that. And I've had other ones we put a kid in a good spot, we had practiced it, and we just didn't do it. And I know losing still sucks either way, but it is your job to put them in that spot where we did practice this, we just didn't execute it. So if you're backed up on punt, and you get a punt block, and you haven't practiced that all year, that's kind of on you. I mean, you do have to look in the mirror and say, I got to do better next time. If you're practicing it and get it blocked, then you did the best you can do. You just got to find some more.
Because I'll give you a kind of a funny situation, something we didn't work. It was about 4 years ago, and it worked out, so it was funny. If it hadn't worked out, it would not have. we had a fake auto call on our punt. So like if they lined up a certain way, our quarterback's our punter, run the fake.
Mm-hmm.
He called that at our 7-yard line. Called it on 4th and about 12.
No concept that that probably wasn't the best place to call
Oh,
that.
we got it. We converted.
Yeah.
But when he came over to the sideline, we had to have the conversation of, let's talk about the situation in the game right here. You know,
I don't think they thought you were going to go for it either, Coach.
no, they did not. And the coach said, "Man, you were aggressive." And I went, "Well, we just kind of messed that up." You got a couple questions down there, Coach. It looks like.
Yeah. Let's do this first one here. It says, "How are you determining how many plays for practice down distance each week?" Well, that's an offensive and defense probably different answer. Defensively, we were going to practice for what we thought they did. That could have been top 5 plays, but some people only got a couple of things they do in real short yardage or real long yardage. So defensively, we didn't have a set number. We did put them on the hash. Like I did, like some teams only going to sprint out to the right if the quarterback's right-handed and stuff like that. So you get on the left hash and it was heavy sprint out. I'm talking about defensive point of view. And then on the other hash, they were doing something else. But as an offensive staff, we pick 2 plays per hash per situation, which I really – and now granted, I'll be honest with you, I plenty of times called something that wasn't on there. You know, like we got in the game and we wanted to run, stick instead of whatever we said we were going to run. But the plan was to get really good at 2 things per hash. So if we had 3rd and long, we probably had a shot, throw some kind of vertical, and then we had a screen or a draw, on each hash. And so we kind of pretty simple. If you just wanted to go for it or go for the first down, or if you wanted to be a little more conservative, you had a call. And then, of course, I was the play caller and I was the head coach, so it makes it a little easier to just say to hell with all that and just call it. Because I did that sometimes too. But what'd y'all do, Coach, for how many plays you had?
Well, and I'll get into this later on, but we're going to hit all that on Sunday night. So we're going to know Sunday night, this is what we're going to do. And like Coach said, I'm the head coach. There's times that I know we said that, but I'm the one that's going to get fired. So here's what we're doing, but we tried to lay that out in a calm environment. And then we wanted Monday, our kids know, 3rd and short, here's our 4 plays. And we're going to hit that again on Wednesday. We're going to hit that again on Thursday. And so the first time it's 3rd and short, they probably could call a play. They know what we're going to run. And the same thing on 3rd and long. We're going to run the plays we're going to practice. Defensively, we were similar to Coach where we would work plays, but we were way more player over play. And so a lot of times on 3rd down, instead of charting the play they run, we charted who they threw the ball to or who they ran the ball with. And so we considered those kind of their money players. And so what that means for our kids was on 3rd down, we're going to give special attention some way within our game plan to that guy. And so a lot of times that helped them because you can't draw up every play they run. But if your kids understand they're trying to throw the ball to that receiver, usually around the sticks, they can kind of sink and cover that up. Or they always run the ball to this kid on whatever in short. You kind of, you want to hit the play, but you also want to teach the concept of it.
Right. And to finish the question, I think you wanted to know if we changed the number of things we worked based on week to week. Offensively, we did not. Defensively, we really may have, I guess, depending on how some teams run every offense under the sun, and you may have to work a few different things.
I usually have more when I'm not comfortable with, Coach. So, like for us this year, 3rd and shorts, we had 3. We're going to run buck. We're going to run our version of heavy, or we're going to run Q ISO because we were really good at that. And so we knew. Now, 3rd and long, we were not very good at. And so we had about 4 or 5 of those to pick from, probably because we didn't really have an identity. I wish I would have had somebody I was good at. But so that's usually how we'll work it. But I don't like working plays I'm not going to run in a game. And so we try to limit it a little bit. So as far as total team plays for us, we hit a lot more in group,
Right. I think the thing to remember on that stuff goes back to the hashes too. Don't have some kind of trick play you want to run and you've run it in the middle all week and then run it on the left hash in the game. I mean, just be better than that. If you want a trick play on each hash, or if you want to run the same play, run it on all 3 hashes. Run it where at least the kids have seen that spacing. That little things like that really go a long way in that more than the specific plays. Coach Sanchez says, any list of special team situations you've accumulated over the years? I'll put something out there tonight. I put a few things out on Twitter already, but we got a little general list that we use that it's not anything special, but it is a comprehensive list. and I don't mind putting that out. Definitely will. I'll do it tonight, Coach. And look for it.
You know, our general stuff on special teams is a couple things we'll teach, and you may already have these, Coach. I think I saw your list. It probably covered a lot of these, but here's a few things we do teach our kids, like never fall on a blocked kick. You know, so we work on how to block kicks, not rough the kicker. We work on that. And then we talk about never fall on this, or if the ball rolls forward, what to do. You know, so those are just general things. We're very specific special team wise with our kickoff team and with our punt team of where we kick the ball. Like I'm not going to lose a game because I kicked the ball to the best athlete on the field.
Right.
So we're going to vary that up as far as situations go on special teams. And I know Coach has a little more detail when he gets down to special teams on it than probably I would have. But, you know, our main thing, again, is players over plays. That guy's not going to beat me. I'm not kicking the ball to him and watching a boomerang go back this way. So we're going to kick the ball away from him or to this area or whatever. And what I have found at the level I'm at, which is a 4A level out here, and then same thing in Alabama, special teams is super undercoached. Like they do one thing. That's all they do. So if you watch film, we've stolen. I think we were 7 for 9 on onside kicks this year because we kicked it to where we saw on film was open, and we got it.
Absolutely, absolutely. I think you know, there's just a ton of situational stuff that can get convoluted and be difficult. So people just kind of stay away from it, put the ball in the middle, you know, and just do their thing. And if you can be better than that, it can be a huge advantage for you. Coach, let's shift gears a little bit and talk about field zones real quick. What are you thinking different than what you normally run backed up? What were you getting on the -2 and you're the offensive coach? You know, were you bringing tight ends in, or are you doing anything different?
Well, the first thing we're going to do, and I hope I don't play to you guys, but first thing we're going to do is we're going to run freeze or a dummy count or something and try to buy yardage. So we're down at the 1 yard line. We may run freeze twice and take the delay of game. We're going to back us up 6 inches. Who cares? You know,
right.
So then we're going to see how you play that. Are you going man zero, bringing a house and trying to get a safety? If you are, we're throwing it deep. You know, that's kind of our mindset is max protect. Here's your shot to go 99 yards. You know, what are you doing back there? And then we're a big buck team. This is the only time you'll probably ever hear me say this. I don't like buck down there because you're pulling 2 guards and that can be penetration. So generally we're going to tighten splits up. We're going to down block and kick. You know, and if we're going to run the ball, that's how we're going to handle it. But I look at that as an opportunity as an offensive player, offensive coach. So we're going to run freeze, and if you come up, we're throwing it over your head. Now, defensively, you know, we're conservative with coverage because most teams aren't going to throw the ball to their own end zone. They're definitely going to throw a hitch or a screen. So we'll be conservative with our back 4 and super aggressive with our front 7. We are trying to create, and that's the time we talk to our defensive guys about turnovers and don't fall on a ball. So you're going to work on that there.
Absolutely. What yard line would you, as an offensive play caller, what yard line would you need to get to where you would go back to regular offense, like buck sweep or counter or something like that?
Probably about 10. We don't, you know, after we get outside of our own 10, we're okay with some stuff.
Yeah, I got you. What did y'all do anything different in the red zone? I mean, we were a heavy buck sweep team like y'all were, so you can run that thing anywhere. But there's a few plays that you know you don't like as the field gets shorter. You know, makes it a little more difficult. But when you got into the red zone, did you feel like that changed things for you offensively as an offensive coach and then as a defensive?
Somewhat. You know, we're going to see when do you go to man, because at some point we never do. Our defense is we're always zone, but we tighten up and stuff. But most teams will go to man at some point. Is it the 20, 15? Where's that going to be? And as soon as you go to man, we're about to run jet sweep and crack everything, or we're going to run a rub concept, or we're going to run speed option, because now we're putting your conflict defenders in man-to-man. He can't play force and man. So that's a big thing that we'll mark. And then we have a heavy package that we use, and our kids my O-line coach, my kids are down my throat yelling to run heavy because it's something to us, after I was spread and we were terrible at short yardage, we put this set in, and it's just been something we do all the time now. And so we're comfortable in this set. This is a good world for me. 3rd and long is not a good world.
I like changing the formation and changing some of the motion stuff. Like we'd go buck with motion away. We'd run it out of bunch trips and stuff, which would just be certain things we didn't do as much until, and I didn't always tell people, I mean, this, and maybe they saw it on film, but I would hold that formation on purpose until we got down there. And it wasn't because it was a better red zone set. It was just that when we got down there, I thought we could change it up. But I'll be honest with you, if I was still calling a play this coming year, I would have heard what Coach just said and wrote that down. It's not about what yard line you call the red zone. It's about what yard line they decide to change their defense. So when they go to man, that's the red zone, whether that's the 14 or the 22 or the, you know what I mean? I think that was a good coaching point for high school football. When they start playing different on defense, that's when you go into, like, I love the jet cracks, a great play. Any kind of rub play mesh is great in the red zone, stuff like that.
One thing too that we have a hard time with, I need to do more, is that's a great time to run an overload, because you're probably practicing blitzing. And when you practice blitzing, I don't know if you're like us, but we practice blitzing against a tight end. We don't practice blitzing against like a 5-man surface. And so they may blitz into the wrong gap. And so that's something we're wanting to add this year, is run like a super overload and then just block down, run power. You know, just from it, like Coach mentioned, show them a new formation, because that's when they're going to be gambling and blitzing, and now they're having to think.
I think so many times as a play caller, especially people that haven't done it a long time, something's worked pretty well. They're in trips open or empty or whatever they're in, and it's working. And they just want to keep doing it. They've kind of heard people like us say, stick with what you do and all that. Well, for us, it was more about the plays, not the formation. So we were going to run about 4 or 5 base plays, concepts. And so if we were running something out of empty the whole way down the field, I wouldn't necessarily wait till we got stopped to change the formation on the 14-yard line. I would just go ahead and change it and try to stay ahead of that. Now, I wouldn't do that on the 40 or the 35, you know, but so many teams stall out in the red zone because something was working and they want to just keep doing it. And it's really just, you know, sometimes you got to stay a little ahead of that. That's some good, Coach told, that's some good things for you guys if you're really trying to think about red zone offense. Keep what he said in mind about that man coverage. That's a good point. What about your 4-minute? Let's talk about 4-minute offense first, Coach. And for people that might, I mean, I don't want to insult anybody's intelligence, but we're talking about our team has the lead and the football. Or if you're defensively, their team has the lead and they have the football. And, you know, so it's 24-20. We're ahead and we got the ball and it's in the fourth quarter. What are the key things? You got to practice. This is what Coach is saying now before we get into this. If you think these kids know they don't need to go out of bounds or they might want to keep 2 hands, you're out of your mind. They don't know that. So tell us, 1, what kind of key points you would tell them, and then 2, how you guys practice those kind of scenarios.
Yeah, I'm glad you're bringing this one up, because I'm going to coach myself up here, because we had done a great job of telling our kids don't go out of bounds, yada, yada, yada. What we had not told our kids was don't score. So we're up 1 this year, winning the conference championship. We're up 1. We got the ball. They could probably stop the clock, so we're not where we can down it. And by the way, if you don't already have a chart for when you can take a kneel down, you need to get a chart, you know. But we look at the chart, all right, we can't take a knee, so probably 1 more first down, game's over. So we hand the ball off, and our kid goes 60 yards for a touchdown as the defense claps, because that's what they wanted him to do. And so that's not something we end up kick the extra point. We go up 8. They get the ball back with a minute and go down and score. And we hold them on the 2-point, and we won 21-19. So that's a situation we'll definitely be coaching this year that I hadn't coached. I hadn't really even thought of at that point. So it's just different scenarios you may see about we need first downs. We're not trying to score here. Now, if you're up 2 or 3, that's not a problem, but it's something I had not worked. Also, intentional safeties is something you may want to work about. All right, you're up 3. You really want to punt on the ball to your end zone, or do you want to drain the clock and take a safety? We had a team try to do that to me 2 years ago, and they didn't coach their kid up. He stepped out of bounds with with like 3 seconds. So the game wasn't over, and they had to kick the ball to us, and we had a chance to win it. And so just different things you need to talk about, not just, hey, they're going to blitz, don't run out of bounds. What about penalties? You know, if you got a clock keeper at home, you can take an intentional false start. You saw us in the NFL. And sometimes that guy won't know the rule, and he'll keep running the clock, and now you've burned 25 more seconds. So those little things in 4-minute O are going to be huge down the road.
And practice them, guys. Don't try to tell that kid to take that offsides or jump offsides or to whatever if you haven't practiced that. They're not going to do it right. Let's kind of just skim through this, Coach, because I don't want to talk about this too much because I want to get to some of the special team stuff. But if I don't know that we should tell people what play they need to run when it's the last play of the game, but I think they all need to have one. So if you don't have a play that you're planning on doing here, whether it's, and this would be a scenario where you were in 2-minute offense and now there's 4 seconds left in the game. You're on the 9-yard line on the left hash. We were going to run mesh. Our play, we were going to run down there. If we were probably 11 to 20 or 11 to even 30 yards out, we were going to run verticals. And if we could single up the good kid, we'd throw it. If we couldn't, we'd have to throw somebody else. But you got to throw it in the end zone. It's the last play of the game. And like Coach was saying, you can't take a sack. Better off throwing an interception than taking a sack. Give the kids a chance. It's the last play of the game. I don't think you got to work this stuff like all these situations every week. But you need to have some stuff in. Have the field goal with the timeout. That's an easy one when you need a field goal with the timeout. But field goal without a timeout is not easy. You either got to spike the ball or you got to run the fire alarm thing where you run everybody off. Again, those are scenarios. If you find yourself in it and you hadn't practiced it, it's not going to work. What do you got to say about the last plays of the game, Coach?
No, I think you're good. I would, again, players over plays. So whatever your play is, it needs to go to your best player. Whatever you want to put in, make sure that guy's got the ball. And there's a difference in last play of the game and last play of the half. Make sure your kid knows that.
Absolutely.
We put 6 on one of those because I didn't explain to a quarterback that if it ain't there, don't throw it. So I've gotten burnt by that before. And then just in case you guys think that this is not important, Gus Malzahn might beg to differ when he beat Nick Saban this year because he suckered him running his punt out there. But, so understand that these are little things that you can get an advantage on. Okay.
Absolutely.
Question about the lateral drill. We do a lateral with ours
yeah.
and got to make a play. We can't throw it to the end zone. That's what we do.
Yeah. Once what we did was if the play was – that's where I had that slide where it said here it is, where it was 31 to 45 yards. We might would throw the Hail Mary, assuming the quarterback could get it down there. And then if it was more than 45 yards, we were going to do the lateral deal. Now, we weren't any good at it. We could barely do it against the scouts. But we did practice it, so we had to. How often do you work on something like that? I'll be honest with you, Coach. We made sure we had all that stuff in the preseason. We at least did it. Even if it was just one time, we would have it all in before we played a game, and we would pick one a week or so of these scenarios, maybe on Thursday, usually even against air sometimes, because honestly, it's just about knowing where to be. So we might on Thursday, in the Thursday walkthrough with the field goal with a timeout, field goal without a timeout, throwing up the Hail Mary play. We used to do all that stuff, try to – I don't think it's really about how many reps you get of this. It's about have you for real told these kids at least once, preferably 2 or 3 times maybe over the course of a year about these scenarios.
And I was going to say one thing too, Coach. I know you're trying to move. I don't want to eat up all the time, but we talk to our kids about fumbling into the end zone too. So like in this kind of scenario, don't go down, fumble. And so we'll tell our kids, hey, on 4th down, don't go down, fumble forward, depending on the situation. You can't do that at your own 50. That could be a scoop and score. But if you're on the goal line, fumble it into the end zone. And they might throw a flag, but they might not throw a flag.
Well, you'd lost. The point is, if it's the last play of the game, you've lost if it didn't work. So what does it hurt? I'm from Foley, Alabama, so Kenny Stabler is from Foley, Alabama. He made a living out of the Holy Roller, rolled it in the end zone, made that a rule. So, look, you guys didn't know you're going to get some trivia tonight too. Does anybody else have a question about offense or defense? I'm going to go into some special teams here in a second and get Coach's opinion on special teams and practicing it.
In my experience too, Coach, that we work these a lot on offense and not nearly enough on defense.
Is it because you think it's hard to get a look? Because I think we did the same, honestly. It's hard to get a look on defense to get that scenario. But we got to find a way. Even if it's walking through it, you probably got to find a way to make your defense do it. Probably something I should have done more of. Inside
an individual, like your D-line coach needs to be stressing, don't jump off sides on 3rd and 4. I don't care about 1st and 10, but 3rd and 4, your DB coach needs to be talking about field zones and when to squeeze. So it's got to be done in individual.
Absolutely. Let's go on to – I put these there. Everybody can see my screen still, right? I want you to look at these scenarios on a punt team, Coach. And, like you said, this thing could be 10 hours. And I could do it for 10 hours now. It doesn't bother me. I just don't want to keep everybody else. But Which of these scenarios stands out to you when you're looking at this? And this for any of the guys listening, if you got a question, which of these scenarios stands out as something maybe you thought we didn't do enough of, or maybe it was something even when we did it, we always struggled with, or what? Like what stands out on these scenarios when you look at them?
Something we started doing more was the punting the ball and trying to down it inside the 10. We had a good punter this year. So I think a lot of this depends on how good your punter is. Some years I'm just trying to, good Lord, just get it out and get it down, you know. But some years, and then the big thing for us, you got it down there, like punting out of bounds or what, you know, there's sometimes I'm not even going to risk that kid touching the ball.
Out of bounds.
So we will punt out of bounds. Coach, there's times we will kick it out of bounds if I know they'll take it to 35 just to keep it away from their best player. So,
well, Coach saying it all the time, players, not plays. It's so true. And don't assume that you told – I've heard coaches say this for years. Well, I told this kid not to kick it to number 34, and you know what he did? He kicked it right to number 34. Everybody's heard a coach tell that story. You know, and that still happens even if you practiced it. But my answer to that a lot, have you practiced punting out of bounds all week? Because if you haven't practiced punting out of bounds all week and you just go out there and give the kid like the wink, like, hey, punt it out of bounds here, that really just may not be enough unless that kid's just so mentally tough that he can do it, and some can, obviously. But, you know, I would practice those scenarios. I would practice kicking away from so-and-so. If you're doing a kickoff where you're kicking away from a guy, you know, put that jersey on him during the week. Do it all week. Don't just go out there and tell the guy, kick left. Don't dare kick it to number so-and-so. That's almost like a magnet to get the ball kicked to that person. I'm just telling you. When I look at these, they're all important. We talked about backed up punt. We talked about end zone. I'll give you a couple little scenarios that come up, not often, but might can help you. So we punting with the lead in the fourth quarter. So if you say there's a minute and a half left in the game and you got to punt it to the other team, you're up 31-27 or something like that, and you got to punt it, they're going to get a chance to go 2-minute offense and score. If they don't catch this punt, which I don't know what you guys see in your state, but we saw a ton of people not catching punts. And everybody's terrified to fumble a punt. It's like they're not scared of anything else, but they're scared of that. So they let this ball roll. If you just get and hover around that ball and don't touch it, the ref's going to let about 5-6 seconds run off before. If the kid just runs up and grabs it and hands the official, you're going to lose those 5 or 6 seconds, and that's a play. So if that drive and that 2-minute offense is going to be 8 plays, now it's 7. You know, that you're going to have. So that's something you can carry with you, honestly, that I can guarantee you will punt with a lead in the fourth quarter this year, most of you. And so if the kids will just understand that, and we would work this once or twice early and the kids had it. You know, we could holler at them to, you know, don't touch it, no problem. And did it win us the game? I don't know. But we could get 5 or 6 seconds taken off, and you never know when that would have mattered. You talked about taking a safety. The best scenario to take a safety for anybody that's kind of a little confused by that, if you're up 6, there's not much time left. You're up 6. You're backed up. You're punting out of your end zone. It's nothing wrong with being up 4 and kicking off just because you may feel like your kickoff team can put you in a better situation to play to not give up the game-winning touchdown. You know, if you're up 6 and you're punting out of your end zone and you punt it out of bounds to the plus 25 for them, then, yeah, I mean, that really didn't help you too much. You give up the touchdown, you lose the game by 1. You could take the safety and then kick off from the 20, but you might still – they might be starting that possession on the minus 35 or minus 40 or something like that, which gives you the chance. Is that right, Coach? I mean, is there other – that I don't know that people understand that scenario. It basically has to be almost that exact scenario, because if it's anything more or less than that, I would take my chances. Like if we were up 7 or 8, I don't know that I'd take a safety. And if we were only up, I don't know. I mean, depending on, I guess, how good their kicker was.
They didn't have a kicker. With the fair catch deal, I would take one down or up 3 because if fair catch a punt, they can kick it through from right there, you know. Or
yeah. But those are some things to think about. You know, down in the punt, a lot of people don't know this rule about first touching. You know, if a kid just taps the ball and walks away from it, it's still live. They got the kid. We had to practice kids picking the football up and handing it to the official. And then you already talked about a little bit about blocking the punt and how to handle a block punt. You got anything else about punt team, or anybody got a question about punt team situations? What did y'all do for practice and punt, Coach? Did y'all do it punt once a week, or did y'all punt daily, or what did y'all do for team punt practice?
For team, I think we go Monday and one other day, Monday and Thursday maybe, but our punter snapper is going every day.
Every day, right?
So he's working the whatever scenarios are there, and usually a lot of times our gunners will work there too.
Right.
You got punt returns, the big one I think, because that's where all kinds of stuff happens. You know, are you after it or not? You know, because it's easy to say we're just going to run punt safe. Well, what if there's 2 minutes to go in a game and you got to block a kick or you got to get a return or whatever? You know, you need to work something.
Yeah, I think this is a team that I always thought we could be aggressive on, and so many, like I said, I can only speak for our part of the world, but people weren't that aggressive on this team, and so you just, you know, if you got the kid that wasn't scared to catch the punt, you had a chance. But there's obviously punt returns like playing defense now. You got to be ready for everything. They can fake. Some teams are coming out in 4 and 5 different types of punts. So there's stuff like that. When they're backed up, what do you want to do? When they're punting in the end zone, the guy standing on the 10, letting it go over his head. Again, I think most people listening to this, they understood what I just said. The guy's going to stand on the 10, let it go over his head, catch it if it's in front of him or right near him. Don't assume a kid knows that. I don't know if maybe we learned that in the backyard or something, but these kids didn't. So, you know, they'll catch the damn thing on the 1 or in the end zone if you don't tell them what to do and practice it. Punt return with the lead in the fourth quarter is kind of what you're talking about, Coach. Now we've got the lead and they're punting to us. So, you know, do we want to go safe? Do we want to put 2 returners back there and just make sure it gets caught? You know, whatever. People can do some different things there, but I think you need to practice it and tell your kids this is what we're practicing. See, what we did from a practice standpoint was we did everything on Thursday, but 1 day a week we would do punt return, you know, so it might have been Monday and Thursday or Tuesday and Thursday. And we would do about 3 or 4 regular punt returns, you know, just work on their punt versus our punt return. But then we try to give them one situation at the end. So we do the last one backed up or punting in or with the lead or whatever it is. And I'll tell you, we got some stuff out of that first touching. We've had, I mean, I don't remember ever scoring a touchdown, but we probably gotten 5 or 6 over the years times where a guy on the other team wanted to look cool and just kind of patted the ball and kept walking. And our returner picked it up and running. So if you don't understand what I mean by that, when somebody does that, the ball is down right there. But if he doesn't secure the ball, it's called first touching. We can pick it up and run, and then we get to pick where we want the ball, whether he touched it or where it ends up. And in that case, nothing bad can happen because the worst case scenario for us is we get it where the guy touched it.
Do that up, Coach. I'm going to take a picture of that. Hang on.
Yeah, that happens.
Like the officials.
Now, I'll tell you what will happen is if you don't grab it, really quick, the official's gonna blow the whistle, you know. So I'm not saying that, but there is a sense of if the refs understand the rules, they have to secure the football for the play to be over where they're supposed to blow it dead, or it has to be kind of no contest. Everybody got away from it. But the last one we talked about is free kick. Coach Wheeler said punt returns are about useless. Blocking the back penalty so prevalent.
So we teach.
So true.
We block with our back on punt return. So we turn around and fly, and just try to shield him because he's right. Anytime you get a big return, look at now. I'll say this one thing about punt return, and you hit most of it. We would have been the 1 seed this year. We ended up winning the conference, but we tied. But the last game of the year, which would have given us the 1. I had a sophomore back there returning punts. He was kind of new to being back there. He was not our first punt returner, but he was back there. We've been very careful with him about don't touch it. What, you know, whatever. If you're not comfortable, leave it alone. And we watched him kick like a 60-yard punt with 2 minutes to go that rolled 30 yards that he could have fielded with 1:50 because we had not coached him up. It's our fault. We had not coached him up that in that specific scenario, you do whatever it takes to go field the ball, you know, and because we need the ball.
Right.
We can't roll 30 yards with time and everything else going down. And we ended up getting in field goal range and running out of time. So you need to work that stuff too.
I think Coach Wheeler's actually right, by the way. But I'll tell you what I would add to that, Coach. I would say put somebody back there, even if it's not your best athlete, put the toughest kid that is most likely to catch the punt. If you want to go block it every time, absolutely, have at it. I think that's a great philosophy. but you got to catch the ball. The teams that we beat over the years doing this stuff that had that same philosophy didn't catch the football, so they only tried to block. And then if you kind of pick them up, and then they just so terrified of the blocks in the back or whatever it was, or fumbling, because there is a lot of bad things that can happen on punt return. I can't argue. But I did think if you practice it, have confidence in your kid back there. Sometimes by your team going for the block, coach, when you go for the block, nobody covers. So sometimes some of our better returns were when we went for the block, we sent people, and then they punted a line drive to our returner. And he did have a lot of room in front of him, even though he was probably more prepared to fair catch or whatever. I mean, that's a great point, though, because I'm telling you, these referees, they good folks. I like refs. I got no problem with them. Got some friends that are refs, but they're going to call a block in the back on a punt return or a long interception I'm just telling you, it's about like where it's almost to the point where if something big happens, you just need to turn to the sideline, just get out of the way. Because they can see that so well.
But coaching that with your kids too, like coach them up about once you see our ball carrier pass you.
Yeah, stop. Yeah, that's something you just have to coach now, to be honest. Let's see. I thought punt and punt return were way more situational than kickoff and kick return. Kickoff and kick return are kind of, probably to put it in a number, I'd say 65 to 70% of the punts are normal. But I'd say 85 to 90% of the kickoffs are normal, and so, the key for kickoff is the regular kind of situational ball, meaning don't kick it to the good kid, or if you're on kick return, make sure you're putting kids places where they kick the ball. That's the situational nugget to take from that. There's some situations like kicking off after a safety, like how do you kick off when there's 4 seconds left in the game and you got to kick off, and maybe you let them get a good return, but really don't run past the ball. But the dominant kickoff and kick return situation would be what we call save the game, or whatever your automatic onside team is, and then your hands team, your good hands team. Those two teams I thought really had to work, and the rest of the kickoffs were really about the team you were playing and scouting that team. Didn't you think that, Coach, or you have anything to add to that?
Yeah, I'm going to hit a lot of that probably in the next one, just to talk about Sunday night meeting. But I would say things on kickoff return and punt return, we'll chart who makes tackles, who doesn't make tackles. And if they're a spread cover, so like on a kickoff team, if they don't run like different levels, so like they just send everybody to lanes and we're going to run a return wherever, we'll only block like 4 kids. So we'll block those 4 kids and leave the other kids unblocked so we can get double teams on them. And then we'll hit that one alley. Because honestly, your chance of getting a big return is better that way than blocking everybody. If they're a spread punt, so like spread punt or kickoff, they're just running lanes, just block the 4 or 5 kids you want to and the wedge you want to hit. And then you'll have a much better chance of hitting big plays. And then kickoff, again, Coach mentioned it, don't kick it to their good kid. Just don't lose a game on kickoff.
No, absolutely. Extra point field goal, pretty simple too. Same thing. There's not really too much to report to this. I know somebody, maybe Coach, Coach Sanchez asked me about special teams list. It basically came off of this stuff, but I got a 1-page thing that has all this stuff all this stuff listed. I like to ask you this one, Coach, before we go into practice, and then I'm going to be done with this and we're going to go into practice stuff. These are what I'd call unique situations. Like they're not really offense, defense, or special teams, but I just wanted to talk about them for a second. What did you do? What did you do differently, or what did you prepare differently, or what did you talk to your kids about having a big lead or having a big deficit? Let me quantify what I mean by that. You guys are playing a team that you expect is going to be a really close game. We're not talking about, we're not talking about the every week kind of game. We mean this is a big game. We're expecting the news is here. It's expected to be 21-21 in the fourth quarter. And then it turns out that you're up 21-0 in the first quarter, or you're down 21-0 in the first quarter. How is there a way you handle that differently? Or I don't even know how you can practice that. I just wanted to ask the questions, and I'm open to anybody answering that question. What is a good way to put your team in that situation where they can – because I've seen teams come back and win from down 21-0 now, especially how offenses are, or especially 14-0. So, I mean, that's a realistic scenario. Is that something you would do differently, or is it just something you handle when it happens?
Well, we talk to our kids. We don't ever talk about the scoreboard. We try to really take the attention off of that. So for a big lead, the things that we would usually say would be, we're expecting you to do the best you can regardless of the opponent. And so if they're terrible or you get into it, and that happened to us this year, we had a couple blowouts that were extremely unexpected on my end. I don't know about our kids. Maybe they thought that we were going to do it, but we just talked about continuing to play at our best level. Obviously, play calling wise, we will be a little more conservative there, but we do teach about that, about run the clock. And then deficit wise, we talk about that a lot. We don't talk because, usually you'll respond okay to that. We do talk about deficit, like what happens if we get down, and you got to practice that again, kind of going back to practice. So we'll have a couple of things we'll do in practice. I'll walk around with a flag and randomly throw it and back to people up. We'll have people that are like we're playing a team, or we know one of our kids acted like a jack A or whatever during that week. We'll have a guy kind of target him during practice to try to rile him up a little bit and just do different things. Or hey, we're going to be done with sprints, but blah, 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 and now we got to do it again. But you've got to practice those momentum swings. I don't know if it's just a deficit, but the oh crap moments of pick six, defense has got to go out there, block punt, you got to go block the kick. So we talk a lot about our kids about don't let this play affect that play. So we don't really talk about the deficit as far as we're losing. We talk about how we can just the next play and try to become mentally tough. I don't do a lot of talking about leads. And then you got the last one down there. That's a tough one. I don't know how to do that one. So
yeah, how the game gets altered. And if the game gets altered with like a weather delay or that doesn't happen every year, obviously, but homecoming and long pre-games and all that does the bands playing before the game. I don't know if y'all get some of those scenarios where maybe it just changes things. I'm not really saying I don't even know if that's even a question. I just think the more things, and this will segue into you taking over, Coach, because the more things that you can think of before it actually happened, the better off you'll be. So if you can be in that Sunday meeting and it's supposed to rain on Friday and say, hey, if we're on the road, if we end up in the locker room for an hour, here's what we're going to do. If you can do that on Sunday, you're going to be a lot better off than trying to do that on the fly. I mean, sometimes on the fly happens, guys, so I'm not trying to say that doesn't happen. But we're just here to kind of make you think about some different things you can think about to help your team. So take it away, Coach. Let me get out of this thing.
No, you're good, man. No, this was good stuff, and we could do this probably every day. And I took a picture of what you had on there, so oh crap, I got to do hold on, I got to do it differently. Hang on, share screen.
Well, I think there's way more stuff to talk about. There's way more depth and detail you can go into some of this, but we're not gonna keep these folks from the families forever.
Yeah, we won't. I'll hit this quick, guys, and like I said, take a picture of whatever you want. And then we're both available on Twitter, so just come find us if you got. But I'm gonna go kind of quickly through this. I talked about practicing already. Okay, that's how we do special teams. Do whatever you want to do it. Coach mentioned it. There's 100 ways to slice the pie. Just make sure you cover everything. So however you want to do it, and we'll switch it. Like we may say, hey, we really got to work on our kickoff returns, so we'll do that twice this week instead of once. And so just depending on what we need work on. This is the two things I had down here was preparing coaches. I wanted to hit that one. And then talking about scouting opponents, which kind of go hand in hand.
Absolutely.
So I mentioned at the start, I kind of operate my thought process is I'm kind of like the funnel. I've got to know everything. There's many things that I can know. That doesn't mean I have to do everything, but I need to be the most knowledgeable, hardest working guy if I'm the head coach. And then the next guys that need to know the most would be your OC and your DC. And then your position coaches, and then down to your players. And even in players, we have levels. We want them to know situations. Like our seniors should know a lot more than our sophomores. So their job is to communicate that. And so we're working these things constantly. So it's not a one-time deal. So here's a few things I'll do as a head coach to kind of pick on my own guys. And I even tell them, I'm picking on you now, so we're ready. Because usually my OC and DC are guys that want to be a head coach at some point. And so they understand I'm doing this to help them, although at the moment they may not like that very much, okay? So my defensive coordinator, a lot of times I'll go in there, I put what I call inserts in our team. And so he's got it scripted, whatever he wants to do. Well, here we go. Here's an insert from Coach Simpson. Well, they came out empty. can we get checked into whatever is going on in this? Okay. Or I'll walk over to both of them and say, no, that kid's hurt and that kid's hurt. Who's next? And we kind of work through these scenarios of what could happen in a game. That way we're making sure, because I don't know if you're like me, my first group gets a bunch of reps. My main number twos get some reps, but I'm going to walk to the coach and go, all right, your top 3 DBs are now hurt. Who's in now? Are we going to pull another kid from another position? Okay, well, you need to think through that now so that we're getting the reps to where they need to be, because I don't know what situation y'all are in, but my number 2 corner, as far as on the depth chart, might not really be my number 2 corner. We may be stealing our outside linebacker and putting him a corner and putting our next best player at outside back. And I'm doing the same thing on offense. Okay, your center's hurt. Okay, are we going to move a guy from here to center, or are we going to, what are we doing? Now we're having these conversations, but I'll randomly do it during practice as well. Same thing with our OC. We'll have scripted some things I want, but then I'll also be back there. I know let's say we're running buck. I want to send this guy and this guy. And he didn't know we were doing that. How's he going to handle that? Okay. I'm the OC right now, but when I've had an OC, that's what I've done. Other things we'll do instead of practice. And when we're 3rd and shorts, our kids at this point know that we're going to run hard count about every time. Okay. Because I want to make sure they understand, we grill in their mind 3rd and 4 and 4th and 4. If you jump off sides, there's problems. We'll throw random flags. Okay, so I'll walk by. Sometimes it is a flag, and we'll call it. And sometimes it's not, to see how they react. It was 3rd and goal from the 3. That's what we had scripted, but you held. So now it's 3rd and goal from the 13. And now my OC's got to work it out, and that position coach got to work it out. I'll randomly ask our defensive guys what their key is. So we'll walk up. Where's your key? Who are you looking at on this play? To make sure they understand. They should know this stuff, but I usually will pick on whoever I think is the guy most likely to not know, and then they're all responsible for him. We'll encourage risky plays. So what that means to me is, all right, it's goal line defense. Risk it for the biscuit. Go get it. This is your chance. Okay. Or we'll say, hey guys, we talked about this. If you're an outside linebacker and they get in trips and they motion, they're going to throw, what is this? That's your chance to jump it. We want you to be risky there. Or first time they have 1st and goal at like our 5-yard line, I want to almost be offsides. Time up your blitz where you're almost offsides, because who cares? It's like a 2-yard penalty. Go get it. Okay. And so encourage those things with your kids as well, and your coaches. Okay. Make sure that you have prepared your coaches and they are understanding of what's a realistic opinion of the guy you're going against and his ability level and your ability level. What adjustments are you going to make? We don't lie to our kids. So if we know we're going to play a team that's going to be a problem, we're going to be honest with them. But here's how we're going to make up for that. This kid's a D1 receiver. You run a 4-8 at corner. How are we going to fix that? And so we need them to know, the coach to know, the kid, everyone knows that's a bad deal. Here's how we're going to give the help. And so we're working this stuff. During the weekend, you need to go through. You don't want to chase what I call chase ghosts. You don't want to be – so if they've never done it, don't freak out. But you want to have an answer in for what they could do. And then we'll use film. I would recommend you do this during the off season, but we'll use a previous season's film to look at down and distance, to look at personnel decisions, to look at mistakes that we've made. I don't like doing it during the season. We'll address it and move, but during the off season is your time to hit all those things, because right now there's not that pressure. So right now is a great time. Right now I'm making my guys from India or whoever does our huddle break down everything we have on huddle, and then we're going to section all that stuff out really in depth on stuff we missed, because it's no pressure. Okay. All right. The other thing I would talk about doing is on the weekends. Coach mentioned it a lot. You got to talk these things through during the weekends. So when we're watching an opponent, we want to watch film for certain things. So I want to know how that coach thinks. So my coaches hate this, because they'll bring me the little huddle report that we paid who knows how much money to get. I don't throw it away. I don't care. I want to know how he thinks. I don't want to know what that sheet says unless it's something that's just really, really obvious. We'll obviously use it as a base, but I want to know how that coach operates and how he thinks. Is he super aggressive with time running down into the half? Is he going to try to score? we've caused about 4 or 5 turnovers at the end of the half because we've known that coach is going to pass it instead of run it out, okay? Or we've been over aggressive to match it. So how does he think on that? What's he running after he gets a turnover, or how's his defense reacting after they give a turnover? Is he getting pissed and blitzing, okay? Or what's he doing, okay? Who's he getting the ball? You heard me say this, players over plays. When the game's on the line, who gets the ball? Okay, I want to know that. Who's he hiding? Okay, if they run it every time it's 3rd and 5, he doesn't have any faith in his quarterback. Okay, or is he throwing it to the certain kid every time it's 3rd down? He can throw fast screen to the superintendent's kid on 1st and 10, but when his job's on the line, who's he throwing the ball to? Okay, we're going to stop that guy. Special teams, I put this, and Coach hit it a bunch, so I won't go too much. Well, they're going to have dead zones where you can kick it there. Or they're going to have kids that suck. They put on kickoff return or kick wherever. Take advantage of that, all right? Who gets their shots on offense? When you draw up a trick play, if you're like me, you're probably drawing it up to your best guy. So who's that guy going to be? And then on defense, I want to know where their eyes are going. Where are their eyes going and what technique are they playing with so that I can mess with them? Okay, I got one more here, Coach, and we'll do whatever questions we got. And then this is the other thing we'll look at for opponents. So coverage checks, okay? Passing games tweaks that we need to make. These are things we need to make. So what are some coverage checks? They run a lot of empty, okay? So we need to make sure we're really repping that. Or they run a lot of trips, so we're going to work, not basic stuff, but here's the stuff that we've got to adjust in. What are our passing game tweaks going to be to take advantage of that kid? One game we played a team was man 0. They were going to play man 0, and we only had one good athlete. That was this year. Okay, so what we did was we put it in a formation where we went empty. We went empty, and we told them to switch. So we took our one good receiver and made him the slot receiver on the empty side. So basically, their corner and safety were covering our 4 kids that can't catch. Only good athlete, and we threw him 2 touchdowns until they got out of that coverage because we figured out what they were doing. Okay, and we made that tweak. All right. When is the best time to take a shot, and who are you taking the shot at on offense? Okay, Coach we mentioned it. When do they switch to man? When are they being aggressive? Okay, we call it 2nd and shots. So 2nd down and short for me is generally when we're going to do it, but not always. Okay, and then blitzes. We're going to take calculated risks. So when are we taking them, and where are we taking them? From the hash, from the formation, from the down and distance. Get all that stuff calculated out by what that coach does. And that can be from your huddle data. And I asked my teams of coaches, hey, if we could stop one guy, who would it be? Or what about 2 guys? And we can't really get past 3 guys because then you're just playing base defense. But if it's 1 and 2 and there's a cliff drop, well, we better make sure we're scheduling our defense for that. Same thing offensively. We went into a game one year, the kids, the D1 defensive end, well, they were going to take buck sweep away, so we ran jet sweep every time. And then they moved them over jet sweep, and we checked a buck sweep. And I'm not going to bang my head in a wall against some kid. So if they got one good one on defense, how are you going to handle that guy? Build in your game plan to stop him. Okay. What are they keying on offense? I mentioned that. The reason we want to know that is can we false pull them? Okay. Can we false pull? Can we play action pass? Or should we be really safe because they're just reading backfield action? Okay. And then we call it an 80-20 rule. So we'll throw out anything that's not 80% or more as far as a tendency. Okay. So if it's 75%, if it's 80% or more, we feel like that's worth telling our kids. That's worth taking the risk. Okay. So for example, if they go trips 80% of the time or more, it's rollout. We're going to tell our kids that. Okay. And we're going to probably structure a blitz for it, specifically for that. If it's 65%, we're going to make a note of it, but we're not going to tell the kids, and we're not going to be repping that at a heavy rep. Does that make sense? So it's something I need to know, the DC needs to know, but the 15-year-old doesn't need to know that. He needs to know about 5 things at most that he can go take advantage of. All right, Coach, I know I went real long there, but.
No, that was good stuff, Coach. Man, that was awesome. I really just take anybody's question now. I mean, I think we've covered about everything I wanted to go through, and I think whatever you did, Coach. But if anybody's got a question, now's a great time to ask, or we can sign off. But I appreciate everybody giving us a chance here without those crazy kids in that other room.
You got one on there, it looks like.
Let's see. If the other time worked our 2-minute drills conditioning, is there any other ways you can work conditioning in your practice? Absolutely, Coach. That's great. Let me ask you, I'm going to ask Coach this. Did y'all, again, do you feel like that was way easier to do on offense than defense? Because,
we do have some drills we work, because I'm a big fan of why are we running gassers with a lineman?
right.
What are we doing? So what can we do to be productive? So yeah, we will work, we call it NASCAR because that's Tony Franklin term. So we'll work NASCAR with our offense. Our defense, we work a team pursuit drill, we call it hip drill, and our D linemen and O linemen are either working shoot, sled, or whatever makes more sense for them. We'll do it with kickoff team. Hey guys, we're going to work kickoff team. This is your condition. You ain't got a condition because you're on the kickoff team. It's a way to make your special teams a privilege. Guys, you have to condition if you'll you're a gunner on punt. If you'll do this, you're out. You don't have to do conditioning. So anything you can do, because that's the goal of conditioning, is not just to run them. There is a point where I think it's important to do mental toughness. So just lining up and running, and it sucks. That can be good, but we don't try to do that very often.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Exactly right. Anybody else?
That means we did really good, or
We either did really good or really bad. One or the
other.
Well, we did do a really bad job. Me, did a really bad job of sending everybody in the world the link to the meeting. But you got some 15-year-olds in there. But
they wanted to know. They
really were worried about that punt team being backed up. No telling who it was. So those of you that are teachers and you're doing this digital learning, give these kids a little bit more to do. They're not busy enough. But I appreciate you, Coach. I enjoy listening to
Yeah,
it.
Coach, that's a good question by Eric. Man, I wouldn't have thought about that. So I'm guessing the guy punted after a safety, so your kids just assumed it was a punt, not a kickoff.
Oh yeah,
I could see that. Hey, so we're playing one year. I'll give us a funny story before we sign off here. So we're playing a team. I was in Montgomery for a while, Bullitt County. And so Bullitt County now has done really good. The coach there is really good. But before then, it was like one coach. And the announcer would like do play-by-play as he announced. I mean, it was like an and one football game.
Yeah.
We pooch kick it. And it's rolling around, and their guy gets on the loudspeaker and goes, "Boys, that's a live ball." Because their kids had no idea we're scattering.
Golly. Coach Knott lost a playoff game by the kids letting the punt roll. Golly. Now that's
it's a punt. I can see that.
Yeah, I could totally see that. I never even thought about that, but I guess it fits the mantra, which is two things. One is you got to practice stuff and not even just talking about it, like you said, practicing it. But two, guys, the truth is there's so many scenarios that, all you can do is the best you can do. I mean, none of us have won every game we coached in. That's for dang sure. And, just learn from it and go to the next one and then tell some stories in the Zoom chat later about it, because God dang, that's a new one there.
That's
I'm
a
sorry
tough
for
one.
that one, Coach. Playoff game too. Dang, that's a tough one. Well, if anybody else got anything, interrupt me, ask it. But I'm just going to tell you, Coach, I appreciate you being on with me and having me on. Yeah, we may pick another topic sometime. We can talk about something else. But you guys want to follow us, I know most of you follow us probably on Twitter and all, but if we can do anything to help you out, reach out to us. I know both of us try to be accessible, and gives me something to do. I look forward to it. So anytime.
I was going to warn him one thing too, and then I'll get off, Coach. I really appreciate you having me on. And Coach Parker's got some awesome stuff on his site, guys. If you've not gone there, which will go through a lot of this stuff, be careful. Now is a danger time of all this information overload, of wanting to put too much in. That's the problem I always have. So I've got my own coaches will check me on this, because there's a lot of awesome stuff out there, but try not to put too much in. And we're talking about working situations, but make sure you're doing it at the amount it will happen.
Right.
Like hashes are 1/3. So work that a lot. Fourth short downs are big money down. Work those a lot. But you're like taking a safety off a punt. That may happen once a season. So
Yeah.
just in perspective.
Absolutely, absolutely. I do think that's a great advice, Coach, that everybody's got so much downtime. They're going to come out there to first practice back with 35 different base plays
Yep.
and 10 plays off each one of them. We need to do another one of these one day about building your call sheet. I could go on some serious rants about people when they think they only have a few plays and they really have 300, and they can't ever run all of them. So this is dangerous in that world. He's right about that because there's so many good stuff, guys. All that stuff is good. It's all good, and but you got to figure out what works for your team, and you got to figure out what you can actually practice and run. Coach is exactly right. So, well, you get the last word, Coach.
Man, no,
Tell us, send us out of here, and we'll get out.
I appreciate you having me on, Coach. And like I said, I've got a couple more things coming this week. I think Coach does too. And there's a lot of awesome opportunities. It's been cool to see the football community, I think, really rise up like I would have expected it to do anyway. But to rise up in a tough situation and do cool things like Coach Parker's doing. So, whenever he does more stuff, make sure you go on here listening to him. I think it's really neat that he's putting out resources. He mentioned at the start of the deal, back when I grew up, a lot of coaches were trying to hide stuff. And I think that this young generation of coaches that are coming up are awesome. Like they're thirsty for knowledge. And so guys like him and Coach Randy Jackson and guys like that are putting stuff out, go support those guys because they're putting a lot of work into this kind of stuff.
Well, and I'll tell you what, Coach, and Coach Simpson got a lot of good stuff. I wish I was still coaching sometimes every time I see you draw that sweep up. But y'all do a great job. But there's no excuse to not have knowledge now, guys. It used to be all about who you coached for when you were a young coach. If you coached for a guy that was really helpful and really took you under their wing, that was way better. But I hope you guys still got that. But there's no excuse. There's so many different things out there, and even free stuff. You don't have to buy stuff if you don't want to. There's a ton of free stuff out there, including this, that you can get in on. And there's no excuse to not really understand. Ask questions, whatever. Don't act like you know everything. That's the best. And don't get your feelings hurt. That's the best. We do this resource thing basically just for all coaches, really all sports, ADs. It goes beyond football for us. But the main things I hear over and over from people, and the thing, don't get your feelings hurt. Don't be scared to ask a question. If you can do those two things, you got a chance to be successful. So appreciate you, Coach. We'll sign off, get out of here, let these people live. Let me know anytime if I can do anything else for you, and any of you guys on here, let me know if I can help you out. Appreciate you.
See you, Coach.